Good evening and welcome back to Prime of Midlife. It's Thursday evening and this evening we are talking attitudes. I'm sure many of you will have seen the video about Mr. Gurner. Now, Mr. Gurner is seemingly a gym owner turned property mogul. And he was at the Financial Review Property Summit in Australia. Financial Review is probably similar to the Financial Times here in the UK. Very much business orientated. And they had a property review where they were looking at the property industry and things going on there, etc., etc. And Mr. Gurner was very forthright in his views. And he said that employment needed to go up. He proposed the country, as in Australia, the country's current unemployment rate of 3.7% should rise by 40 to 50% to reduce arrogance in the employment market, which would see more than 200,000 people lose their jobs to get to where he wants it to go to. According to Mr. Gurner, he said there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them. We need to remind people they work for the employer, not to the other way around. Now, as I say, Mr. Gurner was very forthright in his views. And his views are that we should be employed, we should be thankful to be employed, we should not be thinking that we're working from home, we should not be getting above ourselves. We should be thankful to be employed and we should pretty much do whatever they want. So when his video went viral, like heftily viral, it's now been reported that he's apologised. And he said that his comments were deeply insensitive to employees, tradespeople and families across Australia who are affected by cost of living pressures and job losses. And he says that he appreciated that the loss of a job has a profound impact on workers, and I sincerely regret that my words did not convey empathy for those in that situation. Now, and don't even start me on this. So, in my opinion, just to clarify, in my opinion, what I think has happened here is that Mr. Gurner, who they've said is a property mogul, he said that they're struggling to build houses because of the costs and because of the lack of staff, etc. And he thinks that, people, since COVID, people have just decided they don't need to work, or they don't need to work as hard as they used to. And that's what's causing problems. So really, they need to stop the work from home. They need to stop employees thinking that they're valuable. Basically, employees should be thankful that they've got a job and, tug their forelock, shall we say. And in my opinion, I think Mr. Gurner thought, I'm in a property review I'm in a property event with the Financial Review, which is all businessmen and mainly very moneyed people, and they will agree with me. And yes, there are quite a few agree with them. There's some have even put their names on to news reports. However, when Financial Review put this out in their Twitter feed, people started picking up on it with a, I'm sorry, what? Kind of attitude. Because if the likes of Mr. Gurner has his way from what he's said, we will all be down on bended knee begging for him to throw some scraps in our direction so that we can feed our families and ourselves. And he will be all powerful and all controlling. Now, you could just blame him, but we won't. Because that's what the economies are doing just now. Desperately keeping wages low so that they can make profits, so that they don't have to pay people too much. Well, maybe they should stop paying their directors and their CEOs as much. Maybe the wealth should be split a bit more evenly. And that might make things just a bit easier all round. Because at the moment, with that kind of attitude, which, as I say, Mr. Gurner obviously thought he was safe amongst friends, because he said what he was thinking. Then it went viral, and all of a sudden, he's out apologising. But if you notice, he apologises for not having empathy. Doesn't apologise for the way he thinks. He doesn't apologise particularly for what he's saying or how he's thinking. But he apologises for not having empathy with someone who's struggling. It's helpful, isn't it? You know, the man's a multi-millionaire. He's got no idea what it's like to struggle nowadays. Because it was very different struggling in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, etc. You know, each generation has their own problems, their own struggles. And I was looking at some historical pictures today, and a couple of them were the men going down the mines, hunched up, scrunched over to get as many of them in the lift as they possibly could. No health and safety in those days. 6-year-olds shucking oysters to try and make some pennies to bring some food in for the family. Is that what they want us to go back to? That we're all scrabbling? I don't for 1 minute think that Mr. Gurner and his cronies have any remorse for the way that they're thinking. And as I say, the way that banks and governments, etc., think, oh, unemployment needs to go up, we cannot put wages up. Why is it only wages that can't go up? Everything, you know, bonuses have gone up. Things like that have all gone up. Prices have gone up. But people's wages have not, and they want more unemployment. They want to bring inflation down. So basically, it'll be that, yeah, I know you had a couple of tough years when inflation was up, but, you know, it's back down now, so you don't need any more money. Bet you, pound to a penny, cost of living's not going to come down back to where it was. Maybe come down a bit. It's not going to come down anywhere near to us having the same standard of living that we had 2 years ago. So, yeah. Take note. Mr. Gurner speaks his truth. And his truth could have a very huge effect on our truth. Catch you later.